Welcome to this introduction on the ESR in FourteenFish for ophthalmologists. This guidance is useful for both the trainees and the educational supervisors. I'm going to start with a slide where I talk through some of the main points about ESRs and how they may well have changed from the previous system you used, but also some of the words that we use within FourteenFish. So just starting off, you should have an ESR every 6 months. That's standard, that is a GMC requirement, and that continues within our system. So an ESR is reviewing the previous 6 months' work, and we call that previous 6 months' work the review period. So when you're doing an ESR, we're covering the whole of that period, which is the review period. And when you sign that ESR, when we finish that report, it's called a report. So if you look at your training map, you'll see a line, which is the review period, and then there's a little circular lozenge which says report on it. So that is the ESR, which will be reviewing the whole of the period, which is that review period. On the date that the ESR is completed and signed off, that review period ends because you've signed off all the evidence that you're reviewing at that point. And at that point, a new review period should be started, which would start the next day. When your ES signs off the ESR, it will actually come up with a little prompt to say, now please open a new review period, which they should set for the next day and would normally then last and be extended for 6 months. So just a reminder that an ESR needs to be fully submitted for the ARCP to be able to see any of it. So there are various forms which need to be completed as part of the ESR process, but until the supervisor has gone in and actually fully submitted that ESR, it's not going to be viewable by the ARCP. So please just make sure that's done. And the way that you'll know that's done is if you go to the training map where it says report. If it's green or orange, it's been signed off, and if it's grey, it has not been signed off. So just make sure it's green or orange to make sure that it's been fully signed by your supervisor. Your ESRs do not need to necessarily synchronise with your ST year or level. So it might be that you are an ST1 and you're doing your first ESR. Obviously your review period is only going to be half of ST1 and you'll still be level 1 for maybe another 2 years. So these things are not always in sync, which is why they're separate bars on the training map. Having said that, you must always do an ESR before your ARCP, and it needs to be within the last 8 weeks before the ARCP date to make sure that it is valid. So just thinking about preparing for the ESR, I'll go through that in a moment, but the area that you're looking for is in the portfolio summary box. There is various graphs which are demonstrating how you're progressing with your training, and on the top right of that area it says prepare, and that is where you go in to prepare for your ESR, which is upcoming. Okay, let's take a look at the actual trainee portfolio. So when you log in, you'll see over here the training map, which is what I've been talking about, where you can see your review periods and ESRs or reports on there, as well as where you are with ST year and levels. Scrolling down, you'll see this portfolio summary, and this is where you sort of prepare for your ESR and you can see the evidence that you need. So things that you need to do for your ESR are here. New PDP entries. If you haven't written any, then you would be writing them there. And then when you get to do your ESR, you want to just confirm the sign-off process, but also confirm that you've added all of your time out of training, and you can get to the forms to sign them off just by clicking on these. Equally, if you click on the prepare area, it will take you to the ESR preparation area. And this will give you a summary of what you need to do for your ESR. So anything that needs to be done to complete before submission is in red here, and this is clickable. So please complete your ESR sign-off process. I would click on that, read through this, tick it, save it, and it would then be signed off. That would then disappear from the list of tasks that I need to do for the ESR preparation. Then we would do, please complete the time out of training. You would do the same process. Acknowledge that you've added all of your time out of training from on the portfolio, and that it tallies in with the Form R if there's an ARCP coming up. You can also come in here and sort of come up with some new PDP goals for your ESR as well, which the supervisor will be able to see. So that is all that needs to happen from a trainee point of view for the ESR. Obviously meeting up with your educational supervisor to discuss this, but let's jump in now to the supervisor view, which has a few more forms to complete. Okay, so we've now jumped into the portfolio as a supervisor, and you can see it looks very similar. Obviously it just says the trainee name, but the training map is still there that the supervisor can view the review periods and levels, etc. Then if we scroll down to the portfolio summary area, you'll notice that these areas are now in black. That's because the trainee has to complete them, not the supervisor. So the supervisor cannot complete these, but will be able to view them once they're completed. They would click on the prepare area, and their list of things to do looks ever so slightly different. So the ones in black are the things that the trainee needs to do before the ESR can be signed off, and they are not clickable. The things in red are what the supervisor needs to do before the ESR can be signed off. So first they would click off general information and complete the general information form. This is all about the trainee, their percentage, what they're working towards at the moment, etc. This is the same form that you have seen before. There's also the national form for revalidation. Again, you should be familiar with this form as a supervisor. Progression requirements. This is looking at all the different progression areas, where the trainee is at the moment and where you're thinking they're going, but also what assessments they've completed in this review period. And then there's the overall judgment. So this is the sort of the summary of the ESR, confirming the level, what level they're at, and the recommended level going forwards, justifying the decision, any sort of feedback from the trainee, and then if you save it, that will sign that off. So all of these hopefully are completed. So the trainee does the black bits, the supervisor does the red parts, and then at the top here we'll say sign off Educational Supervisors Report. Because I've been to it, it's just saying edit. But essentially this is how you get to the signing off the whole ESR process. So you'll get a summary of everything that's been completed on this page, which essentially is the one large ESR form. Then the overall judgment here at the bottom, and then you would click save, and then a button would appear once everything's done saying sign off this ESR, and that is the button you need to press to make sure that it's viewable by the ARCP, that it's fully signed off. The reason it's not there at the moment is because all of these things need to be done first. So that is the process for signing off an ESR. Once the supervisor signs off that ESR, it will come up with, so first thing the review period the date will change to that day, and then it will come up with a banner to say, please set up a new review period now. The supervisor would then click add a new review period starting tomorrow, and then anything from tomorrow onwards would be in that next review period, ready to be reviewed in the next ESR. We hope that you found this summary video informative and will help you with your preparation for your ESR. If you do have any other questions or you are unsure, if you look in the help area, there's often helpful files, help texts, sometimes videos, which can help guide you further.